And I can't help but to think the connection in my head. First, as I said, comes the, oh, it's COVID. And I can testify right now. It's pretty nasty, yes, but I haven't, thank the Lord, I haven't felt like I'm about to die yet. So, oh, COVID, everybody's going to die, go hide. And then somehow economy collapsed and everybody went into this depression and panic mode. And then we all went to sleep. We woke up and Biden won. And then, January 6th happened, and then the vaccine. It's like, when you look at it, it's like a perfectly planned series of events that has an end game. So what is that end game, Jamie?
Well, that's a great question. And Annie, you're always in on the main issues. Let me talk about one of the end games. It's not what I find fascinating when I've studied the left all my life. It's so fascinating, so interesting how you can tell a leftist right away. Like, for instance, when you see somebody by themselves in their car wearing 5 masks and a face shield and a, astronaut outfit with the helmet on, you already know it's a Biden supporter. And the question is, how do we know that? Well, it's because the left hates individualism. The left hates freedom, and the left yearns for safety, for security. There's much more fear inside of the leftist milieu. There's much more hatred, again, of individualism and freedom. And so it's very easy to, just to see how, how the political framework begins with the masks, the vaccines, the 6, foot distance, feet distance, et cetera. You already know what's left and what's conservative. And so what does the left really want out of this when we look at this? Well, we know that the left hates individualism and freedom. And so today, when you see Joe Rogan, get better from COVID within, 2 days, you would think that leftists would be celebrating. Oh, somebody got better because they care about lives. But for some reason, they're upset and they're angry because deep down, they don't really want the vaccines to go away. They don't really want the lockdowns to go away. They don't really want the masks to go away, because if they did, they would be supporting a whole bunch of things like alternative treatments, like this and that. And we can bring up many, many things, many ways that leftists would behave if they really cared about lives, right? And so, I've studied the left my whole life. If the left really cared about gays the way that they say that they do, well, then they would really be concerned about what Hamas and the Taliban do with gay people. But for some reason, they don't. When leftist feminists and leftists say that they really care about women, but all of a sudden, when you bring up female genital mutilation and honor killings under Islam, suddenly they don't really care about women too much. And it's all the same. This is just, the game always stays the same. It's just the players that change, as the phrase and saying goes. And so today, it's all the same thing. It's just different dynamics. Annie, you very well know, coming from Islamic apartheid, you have suffered under that torment, and you very well understand what the niqab, what the burqa, what the hijab is all about. Yes, there's many dynamics there, but one of them is to erase the female. On a larger scale, it's to erase humanity. It's to erase the differences between genders. It's the desire and the lust to erase the differences between humans. When we look at the Maoist unisex uniforms, when we look at the burqa, and now we look at the mask, it's all the same thing. It's that yearning for sameness, that yearning to erase God's creation in terms of the sacredness and the beauty and the shining divine gift of every single individual, and how different every individual is from another individual. See, the left wants to suffocate all that. It wants to suffocate prosperity and individuality and freedom. And the mask is very, very much a representative of that. And so what's going on here is the attempt to destroy the last shining example, the last shining, beautiful experiment on the face of the earth, and that is the United States of America. Because without America, the light of freedom doesn't have much of a chance to shine in the world. So they had to get rid of Trump. They have to get rid of the United States. Of course, Israel is very close to all of that in terms of respect for the sacred of the human being. And so it's a totalitarian globalist takeover. It's an assault on human freedom. And we think about Genesis. Let us make man in our own image. And we know that we are made in the image of God, in the image of the Trinity. This is a spiritual war. How do we see the image of God in each other? Because the image of God is in us. Do we see it in each other's elbow? To a degree. When we look at our toes, at our knees, of course, but it's our faces. When we see each other's face, we are reminded of God's creation and we see God's image in one another. In whose interest is it to destroy God's creation, to stop us from seeing God's creation in each other? Well, it's a spiritual war. There's a Luciferian satanic agenda behind all of this. And we can get into more of the details. Perhaps it's not for this particular setting of this webinar, but there are truth tellers, Vladimir Zelenko, Dr. Carrie Madej, many, many experts in the medical community that are also pointing to what these vaccines are and their assault. Are these really vaccines or is it gene therapy? And if it's gene therapy and it's messing with the human genome and with our DNA, then again, something is being done to God's creation. So apart from everything that I just said, the one sentence to answer that question is globalist takeover. Something very evil is happening, and definitely an assault on the sacredness of the individual, of freedom, and a movement towards a Chinese-style mass surveillance system on the planet. You see, because the masks, the 6 feet distancing, the vaccines, these are just steps, because then we have the vaccine mandates. Then we have the vaccine passport. And then once you have the vaccine passport, this isn't just about the vaccine. You have a passport. And then after a while, with all the technology happening, that passport is on your phone. But we know with the technology accelerating and escalating, it begins to go into the body in the form of a chip or what have you. And then all of a sudden you go somewhere and it's facial recognition, you have a certain chip or whatnot, and they know your past, they know who you are, they know if you said that you liked Trump or not, or if you were a bad boy or girl, and you're not allowed in here today because your social credit number is 5. And so that's the direction we're moving in, Annie. And it's a very frightening direction.